4 teams, 3 games, 2 conferences, and 1 Super Bowl champion. After all of the turbulence throughout the inaugural 18-week regular season and the craziest divisional round of all time featuring walk-off scores in every contest, we've made it to the semifinals, and I'm here to break down both matchups this weekend for the conference championships of the 2021 playoffs, giving you all of the information and stats that you need to know in just a few minutes. If you liked the video, subscribe, share it with a friend, and now let's get to the good stuff. Starting with the AFC, the Bengals will travel into Arrowhead Stadium against the Chiefs. Vegas odds have Kansas City favored by a touchdown, with a point total hovering around 54.5. The Chiefs are expected to be as explosive as always. And furthermore, unlike last week, a contest in which Kansas City scored 42 points, including 550 total yards against Buffalo's #1 defense in opponent points scored and yards allowed, the Bengals defense ranks 13th in allowed points and 19th in allowed yards. It's probably unreasonable to expect more than 42 points, but the Chiefs will be facing a more lenient defense. That's not to say the Bengals are going to get steamrolled though, since Kansas City's defense doesn't hold up either, ranking 16th in points allowed and 26th in allowed yards. With 2 below average defenses and 2 supremely talented offenses, it's clear why this game has one of the highest point totals of the entire playoffs. Plus, Cincinnati and Kansas City rank 26th and 27th respectively in allowed passing yards. And these teams both like to throw the ball, ranking top 10 in pass yards per game. So it could be worthwhile looking into any passing or receiving prop in addition to some of the receiver/tight end touchdown scorers. A few specific value picks for daily fantasy or player props are Joe Burrow facing a worse defense than Patrick Mahomes, Jamar Chase also facing the weakest defense in this slate, and CJ Uzomah, great value with 135 yards across 2 playoff games. One last thing worth noting is that the Bengals actually beat the Chiefs earlier this season, winning 34-31 in Week 17. Joe Burrow threw for nearly 450 yards and 4 touchdowns, 3 of which going to the almost guaranteed Rookie of the Year Jamar Chase. Moving to the NFC Championship matchup in what's expected to be more of a defensive showcase, the 49ers head into SoFi Stadium against the Rams, who are favored by a bit more than a field goal. The opposite of the AFC Championship, this game has one of the lowest point totals of the playoffs at around 46.5. Considering that San Francisco limited the #1 scoring offense of Dallas to just 17 points in round 1 and the 10th scoring offense of Green Bay to just 10 points in round 2, the 49ers, and particularly their defensive standouts, have gotten hot at the right time. San Francisco has won 6 of their last 7 games, allowing no more than 24 points in any of those contests. The question here is whether the Rams offense can keep up, ranking 6th in points scored and 7th in yards per game. And the answer seems to be yes, with their offense heating up at the right time as well, winning 7 of their last 8 games, scoring no less than 20 points in any of those contests. When picking the spread here, one interesting factor is that San Francisco has either won or lost by within a field goal in all but one of their past 11 contests, while the Rams couldn't cover 3.5 points more than once in the past 4 weeks. The only notable weakness in either defense here is the Rams secondary, ranking 21st in allowed passing yards, so players like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle could favor from a beneficial matchup. But if you like boring football, it might not be a bad idea to take some of the unders against any of the running backs in play, or Matthew Stafford with tough rush defenses and a stout San Francisco secondary. This same logic carries to daily fantasy picks, especially so for George Kittle, who seems underpriced across all platforms. Also, something to note here is that the 49ers have beaten the Rams twice already this season, one of which was kind of a throwaway game for the Rams while the 49ers clinched the playoffs, while the other was back in November, when San Francisco scored 31 points against LA's 10. Who's going to win? Don't know after last week's remarkably unremarkable slate of picks. But I've got to step back into the batter's box, since every no-hitter is followed by an eventual perfect game, which I know it's the same thing, but just stick with the metaphor. So I've got the spreads for both underdogs here, including the Bengals +7 and the Niners +3.5, as well as over 54.5 in the AFC and under 46.5 in the NFC. And that's the perfect picture of this weekend's conference championships, the final stop before Super Bowl 56. If you enjoyed the video, share it around, subscribe, do whatever, it's all appreciated. And until we reach the biggest stage in sports once more, this has been Quick Pick Nick, hoping for no less than 4 for 4 on today's picks, and thanks for watching.